Department heads, council members.
I have a couple things. Way back when, not sure when, I suggested that a letter be written to Barbara Lee regarding the ability of cities to condemn railroad property. My understanding is that federal law prohibits that. And my strategy was to have Barbara Lee float a bill that would change that. Of course, that would have a snowball's chance in hell, but at least it would get some attention from Union Pacific, and maybe they would be more interested in talking to us about selling what they call the Emeryville yard next to the future Horton Landing. And so I'm wondering where that is. We agreed to send this letter, and I think that was some time ago, so I'm curious what happened to it.
I remember having a conversation with Karen Hempel about it, and this was months and months ago, but there were complexities to even being able to do that, that I don't recall.
Sending a letter?
If I can, I actually did.
Microphone.
Can you hear me?
There.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You told me to stick it in my face. I actually have done some research on that, John, and I thought it had been decided, and I'm sorry, apparently I dropped the ball in getting the communication back to you. What we would like to do is write a legal memo to you explaining, because it is fairly complex, and it's not, federal law doesn't prohibit us taking railroad property, but the standards and the findings that have to be made and the procedural process is rather complex, which without opining here, I would like to explain that to you in a memo, and then so there's a better understanding of the issue, and then the council can decide what direction to go forward.
Can we see that at the next meeting, Carol?
Well, when can we have the memo in our mailboxes?
So the next meeting is in 2 weeks, and that may be too soon, but we can do it after that. It's a complex issue, and it has to do with federal administrative procedure, which is not an area that your city attorneys regularly practice in. So I do want to make sure what's put before you is absolutely correct, and so I would like a little bit more time than 2 weeks.
When?
So a month would be the next meeting.
The reason that I think this is important is because, and I guess a month for me is okay, but
Yeah.
but we really should have it by the end of the year. The reason it's important is because we've now decided to fund this bridge across the tracks, and what I fear will happen is, first of all, I don't think the railroad needs that extra track, that side track, and I don't think that the railroad I think it's easier for whoever is asked at the railroad, can you give up this land, to say no, because they probably fear that they'll be reprimanded for giving up land. I think what's going to happen is we'll build this bridge, and then the railroad will come and say, oh, by the way, we don't need this property, and are you interested? And then we probably would purchase that property, but we will have spent a lot more money spanning this portion of the railroad that we then buy. So the goal is to make the bridge as short as possible. I don't think that the railroad needs the land. I think that some way needs to be found to light a fire under them to get them to make this very logical decision to sell that property to us. So that's all I have on that.